Hey there! So if you watched the video just prior to this one, you'll know that what I'm trying to accomplish under my fruit trees is called a fruit tree guild, and it is, as I described, just a kind of system of companion planting around a fruit tree to help repel harmful insects, attract beneficial insects, and do some other things that I'll talk about as I go. So today, it's going to be a lot of planting. I will go through each plant and describe what they are and why I'm planting them under the fruit tree. This is a permaculture experiment. I'm doing it to save money, to save time, and to save the fruit trees. Actually, it's very, very much better for the environment and for the fruit trees. So let's get started. So I have a lot of mint because mint grows really well in shaded or partial shade conditions. So you're going to hear a lot of the word mint or mint family. So let's start with what we have first. We have mountain mint. Mountain mint is a pollinator attractor. It is in the mint family, so it doesn't mind shade, and it grows and spreads like crazy, so it should crowd out the grass. Because I am not going to put down cardboard and soil under my fruit trees like a lot of people do, because my arborist told me that does not help the tree. That is very bad for the tree, because it stops oxygen from getting to the roots. And a tree, young fruit trees like these, they're still drawing oxygen through the soil, and he said putting cardboard down, wetting it, and then putting topsoil on top of it is a bad idea. I also bought some catnip, and I like the idea of catnip because it is medicinal. It has medicinal uses. It's a repeller of bad insects, but it also loves crappy soil. I actually have a lot of topsoil back here in this corner of the yard because it rains and it kind of washes toward this end of the yard. So this is not particularly crappy soil, but I'm going to see how it does, and if it does well, I'll plant some around where I have a lot of clay up near the coach house. Just give you a brief description of what I'm planting here. Germander. So when I looked up germander, I know it's a pretty flower, but I wanted to give you a little bit more information. It is a flowering plant, so it is an attractor of pollinators. It likes part sun to sun. It can be sculpted. It'll get big. It's kind of a shrubby thing. It almost looks like it's in the same family as lavender and rosemary. And it's a semi-shrub, and it can be sculpted. Of course, I'm not going to be sculpting these, but they're very, very pretty. They get about 8 to 10 inches, and they get 18 inches high. So that's a very, very nice plant to put out under fruit trees to attract those butterflies and other pollinators. Okay, so here we have verbena. This is a pretty sad looking verbena. Unfortunately, these didn't get planted right away because it was raining. I'm putting it in because it is good medicinally, which is something that is important to me. It's good for abdominal pain. It's good for milk production in women, which I really don't need to worry about. It likes the sunniest and driest part of the garden. One thing you'll know, I've got a recurring theme, and it's drought tolerance because of climate change, because as we go each summer, it seems like it gets drier and drier. And again, water for me particularly is expensive. So we're going to do as much drought tolerant as we can. Now we have gallium. This was a new one to me. I didn't know anything about that. It is called bed straw, probably because it was used for bedding straw in the old days. It is used to coagulate milk for cheese. That's interesting. It is great for potpourri, so it's a very scented flower, heavily scented. That means it's probably a good masker. It is like semi-shade, which is this dappled shade under the fruit tree, and it is drought tolerant. Yay. Okay. Now let's move on to Iberis. Again, this is a new one for me. But as I was at the nursery and kind of reading through what these things do, I noticed that it is an evergreen subshrub. It self-propagates, so from what I understand, kind of like lavender. Lavender will get really big and then it'll kind of fall over, and if you put soil where it falls down, it will propagate a new lavender plant. So that's what I think this will do. It is drought resistant. It is a perennial or annual. It gets 6 to 8 inches upright. It grows best in small groups. So it is also an attractor of bees, butterflies, and birds. It says full sun for optimal blooming. I'm going to put it in where it gets a lot of sun but not full sun. Should do okay. What else have we got here? Salvia. This is one of my favorites because it is like the plant that everybody loves to grow because it's so maintenance free. You don't have to ever worry about salvia. It'll grow anywhere. It likes any type of soil. It is in the sage family, which I could have guessed by the shape of the leaves. It's kind of a sagey shape, as it requires little water and few nutrients, which is fantastic. It loves clay, so again, if it does well in this soil, I probably will take it up and put it closer to the coach house where I've got that nasty clay foundation that the construction left that I want to cover, but I can't afford to cover with inches of topsoil. Last but not least, I have primrose. Primrose is my husband's plant. He got these. These will be very, very nice. They're a good ground cover. It forms rosettes of toothed, wrinkled foliage. From April to May, it produces a profusion of cheerful flowers in shades of whites, pastels to the deepest reds. It grows in rich, moist soil in part shade, so that's good for here under the fruit tree. And again, if it's flowering and is smelly, it'll attract pollinators and it will mask the fruit tree, the fruit, from the bad insects like assassin bugs. That's really the problem I've got to solve. I've got to keep the assassin bugs off of my peach. So that's about all the plants. I'm trying to get a view where you can see everything and you'll start to get the idea. I put all the shade-loving plants here close under the tree where there's the most shade. So I only had 2 catnips, so those are there. The rest are salvia, which also tolerates shade. Close to the tree, I put 2 galliums. Those are also very shade-loving, and those are ground cover. So those should spread quite a bit, so I only put 2 in. And that's all I'm going to do for today, and join me tomorrow.